Okay, so apologies right off the bat. You know, people are going to file in. I won't stop the recording, but I will stop the projecting. Let me start off by pointing out one other assignment. You guys may have seen it pop up, I think on Monday. Let's look for, so tonight is the extra credit NKB, NKBA. Did I not put it here? Uh-oh. I may not have shared it with you guys. Let me hop to my other classes. That's so sad. I just assumed you guys were busy. You're at the end of your career. Let me pull up Revit's class. You guys can hop in here. Hey. Okay, so now I will officially start our lecture. Today's kind of a packed day. We're going to be talking about the portfolio layouts that you guys shared online. We're going to go over them pretty quickly, and I'm going to make some blanketed statements. And then we're going to go over master pages. And I'm going to teach master pages as if none of you guys have ever worked on them. Because again, depending on when you took your 1250 class, some of you guys may have already done master pages. Maybe you didn't. But the other thing is InDesign has changed quite a bit just in this last year in terms of its interface. So the master spreads that you worked with probably work differently or look different than what you did even a year ago. So we're just going to start it from scratch. But before we get into that, if you haven't had a chance, go ahead and take a look at some of the portfolio layouts that you guys put up. And I will say, before I get into the critique, that these are really some of the strongest examples that we have had on the first round. So thank you guys for kind of slowing it down and really thinking about, you know, what size you're printing on, how the content gets laid out. Just out of curiosity, please be honest, how many of you guys really think that you know the sheet size that you worked on? Most of you? Okay. Is there anybody here who after you started working, you're like, you know, I might think of another layout size? Anybody who might change? At any point you can change. Well, not any point. You want to figure it out in the next few weeks. But I was just curious because I did see a lot of different sizes. So remember, today is not me going through and critiquing Mia's, and then is Erin here, and then going through and critiquing Erin's. I'm going to make some blanket statements. Because now that you guys have done a rough draft, you've gotten a couple comments from me, comments from your peers, the next round that I want to see is kind of your better try. And so the things that I'll be talking about today, again, are just blanket statements for everybody to kind of pay attention to. And one of the things that I said just about to everybody who put in text right here, I can scroll down. There's lots of just sample placeholder text. Really think, are you going to talk that much about your projects? Really think about that, because to be honest, and Brian, I might lean towards you, when we're going through portfolios, resumes, things like that, I don't know if we're going to stop and read or if we're just going to look. Are you thoughtful enough to read their description? You're really thoughtful? Okay.
It would just depend.
Yeah.
As you ask that, it would depend on what I'm looking for, and if I need the
Sure.
written word. If I don't feel I do, I probably would.
Okay. I would say at a first glance, I'm going to be completely honest. Like if I were hiring and I had 30 portfolios come my way, I'm just going to quickly look at those images and be like, I like that, I like that, I like that, narrow it down, and then I'm going to start reading. So, and part of it too is that if you have that much to say, please say it. But remember that I want most of your real estate to go towards your work, and your work is really visual. I do think it's important to have a blurb here or there about, this is the project I worked on. I just saw CAD for interior design. That's perfect. That's like what I wanted to say.
This is what I want my layout to look like.
Yeah.
But when I submitted my picture, my thing in here.
It doesn't look like that?
It's not gonna look like
Have you
that.
just edited it since then? Inspiration?
No. I've been working on this.
Okay, and we will be working on it. This is really just round one. And I think, I really think that it helps to see other people's work too. So we saw previous semesters, now you see your peers, and then I think you can go back and look at yours with fresh eyes. So the thing that I noticed about the people who put stuff in with the descriptions, I wasn't very worried about it because if it doesn't fill the space, it wouldn't negatively impact the design, right? So even here, Valerie, like we're getting a little bit close to where it's like, if you can't write that much, what's gonna happen to your layout? But if you flip these two, I think on your left side, having an image there, I don't think you'll notice quite as much if there's a description missing on the right. Okay, so something to think about how you're even anchoring that. And I will make you guys a little bit dizzy because I'm just going to keep kind of going up and down. So again, text information. Try to be a little bit more specific. Catherine, is this you? Maybe? Yeah. Okay, so again, just try to really, I said don't think about a specific project, but for this next time, think about one or two specific projects and think, okay, am I going to write a paragraph on each or one or two? And as I said, every semester, I have seen one person do, a paragraph. If Deshina was here, I would say, there's no way you're writing that much about a project. Even if you think you can, don't. You don't need to write that much in a visual degree, okay? So don't worry about writing this much. Let me keep going down. A couple other things that I wanted to point out is when you're going through, really think about balance and symmetry. And so as I'm scrolling through, take a look at your work, take a look at other people's work. And I think for some of these, it's hard to see whether it was done as like a 1 or 2 spread. But you want to look for balance and or symmetry. And the place where it can get a little bit dangerous is if you are really close to symmetrical, but one thing's off, you might think, well, that looks balanced. But the thing to watch out for, and I did see a few examples of this last night, is if it's so close to being symmetrical but just a few things are off, it kind of looks like an oversight. Okay, so look at your project again and turn on that OCD, how are things lining up, what are things doing, and really look for symmetry or balance. But just make sure that somewhere between those two, if I was doing one of those diagrams, it could look like an oversight. Make sure it doesn't look like an oversight. And part of you might be thinking right now, well, if you saw them last night, are you going to tell us? Not yet, because this was just a rough draft. So now that you've kind of put it out there, we've looked at it, you're going to look at some more examples. For next week, when you come back in and we've worked with master pages, I want you guys to go back through and kind of finesse these one more time. I would assume that if I asked right now, does everybody feel that from this draft even today, are there things you want to change? Okay, good. That's where I want you guys to be. This was just a starting point. So for next week, you're going to resubmit these, not as a discussion, but you're going to be turning in your whole PDF spread, and we'll go over those requirements a little bit later. And that's what I will go through and kind of thoughtfully comment. Some of you guys got comments, beginning of the day, and then it got Brooklyn, I think you were the latest. 1 a.m. maybe? Yeah. I was like, oh, hello, Brooklyn. So, but I was peeking through. So a lot of you guys just got likes. But again, take a look at balance, symmetry, and then talking about symmetry, be consistent with your text. So when I talk about consistency, let's define what that means. Make sure that you know the sizes and the spacing of everything. Don't just put in a text box as a placeholder. So I know what the standard font is in InDesign. And as much as you like it, I don't think I want to see it for this project. Try to find something, Mia loves it, try to find something that works well with your design. I don't think that there's a design in here that it works so well that you couldn't find something else. Okay, so put some thought into that. The other thing that I will also blanket is a lot of things don't need frames around them, okay? The gray placeholders work really well to show us how the real estate will be used on the page. But honestly, outside of that, we don't need a lot of actual frames. So even here, Savannah, I don't necessarily think that your project title needs that. Okay, simple is better so that your projects start to really stand alone. I don't know if Daishina meant to put this here. Maybe this is okay. That's like where her photo would go. I'm like, I wish it was all grayed out. But even here, I think she accidentally put some black frames, so we don't need those. This I don't mind if it's kind of like a title block around the whole page. I think that's different than just framing like one element or two. But I want to see you guys try again. Catherine, with your text.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Never mind. Blanket statement. With these, do a text box and then rotate it. I think that would be easier to read. Although this works the way that you've written it with like the vertical justification, I think it would look better just to rotate it. Okay. If there are any specific questions you have before you go to the round 2 of your portfolio layout, please ask. But this is really a time where I don't really want to tell you what to do yet. I think you guys have all gotten to the point where you've kind of come up with your own work. I kind of want to see how you can kind of clean this up, see where you can take it before we have kind of an in-depth conversation. All right? Okay, so I will look for those next week. And if you are posting really late at night, I'm going to keep this open. It closed at noon, but I'm going to keep it open. Please go back and leave those comments for your peers. And remember, a comment doesn't include, I like that, it looks good. What does that mean? What do you like? What looks good? Be specific. There was a lot of those. Again, midnight oil. So we'll try that part again so you guys can get your credit. Okay. Going back to the beginning of class, let me catch up with you guys now. Under your assignments, if you weren't here at the very, very beginning of class, we are working on the master pages exercise. So in this assignment, we've got a link to a really large zip file. I'm going to go ahead and pause the lecture. I'm going to give you guys a minute to download that. And then once you have it downloaded, I'm going to show you guys how to extract it. Where you save it is kind of up to you. Okay, I'm going to start that up again. So somewhere you guys have saved your presentation board images that I've sent you. So what we're doing with these images today is we are going to pretend that this is all of our work and we are setting up a portfolio. So this really will be similar to what you do. Typically when you're on a PC, for this to work correctly, you have to right click on the zip folder and go to extract all and then hit extract. It could be a double click. That might do it too. That's usually what I do on my machine. But I know that on a Mac, you might not need to extract it. It'll just work correctly, but sometimes on a PC, if you don't extract it, it'll have some trouble. So once you've done that, if you go back to the main folder, can you see now that I've got the zip folder with the little zipper on it, and then I've got that main folder? This is the one that we'll be working out of. And we actually got these files from another instructor. This was his thesis project up in the architecture program at the U. Kimberly, is your computer being mean?
Yeah, I lost my mouse.
I probably have it. Hold on. I'll bring those up again. See if that worked. Okay. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. These are some sample images, and what you guys need to do when you see this is think about all of your projects, right? You might have some AutoCAD files that look like this. You might have some Revit files. You might have some scans of boards, but just a really wide range of not products. Well, they are kind of products that you'll sell to your customers eventually, but a wide range of projects. That's what we'll be working with. Thanks, Brian. We need to hear every day. Hey, Vince. Vince, I'm going to have to get you caught up in a minute. Sorry. We can log on in 1 sec. So go ahead and extract those, and we will be working with an 8x8 format today. So in InDesign, go ahead and go to Create New. And let's do an 8x8. So a little bit of a unique layout, but not unlike what we saw in Blurb and some of the other photo books. And we will be doing facing pages. So 8x8 facing pages. Everybody had a chance to do that? Okay, here's my big speech for the day. Please don't be this student this semester. I have this speech every semester, and for whatever reason, somebody still does this, okay? When you're in InDesign, I don't know if you've changed your panels, but go ahead and go to your Pages panel, okay? I don't have mine collapsed today, so whether you have them collapsed or not, just make sure you see your Pages panel. And we will be working in a new Pages panel today that we haven't worked with before today. Remember, I'm pretending nobody has seen this before. Up here at the top, if you come to the little expansion, if you pull down, do you see how Adobe has hidden something that says A Master? Okay. Every computer that I have been on in this new version has kind of hidden that. So it just says none and it looks like a page. Okay, I want everybody to spend a second doing that and pull it down so you've got some good real estate after the two A Master sheets. Everybody with me there? Yes? Good. So here's my little note to you guys. Don't work here. This is your masters and these are your pages. So master pages are essentially templates that you create in InDesign. And really, when you're creating templates for our portfolio, let's just say we're only doing one template. And that template we're going to use over and over again, and that brings consistency to your portfolio. So we'll have the text in all of the same area, in the same area. We'll have all of our frames for our work in the same area. All of our page numbers go in the same area. This is far more effective than copying and pasting, because you could copy and paste a layout, but then forget to change the title or forget to change one of the images. So you've got AutoCAD, but then you've got like this random board over here, okay? So the most effective way to have a consistent layout, professional layout, is to use master pages. Now that's not to say that you don't create two templates where they both essentially look the same, but looking at some of your spreads from last night, some of you guys did like two really big images, and then you did another spread that had one big image and then thumbnails on the other side, right? But overall, it's still the same. You guys still with me on that? Okay, here is another thing that I kind of wanted to point out as to why master pages work so well. When you have a master page, any change that you want to make, you can make in the master, and then it updates all of the pages that you applied that master to. So for example, this happens all the time. In fact, half of you have different last names than when you started the program, okay? Let's say that you have your logo on your master page, and I'm gonna do something else. So for now, I am Nawabi Architecture, okay? So Nawabi Architecture is on every page. And then Montana and I decide that we are going to start a firm together. Montana, what's your new last name? Rencher. So now it's going to be Nawabi Rencher. If you were doing this in Microsoft Word or Pages or even Photoshop, imagine having just a 20-page portfolio. How many pages do you have to go through and change that logo on? At least 20, right? Are we perfect, and are we going to do all 20 pages? Probably not. I mean, maybe you will, but do you want to do that? I wouldn't want to do that. What a master page does is whatever you change on that master, so I'm going to change the Nawabi to the Nawabi Rencher, it goes through and it updates it on every single page. So again, consistent, professional layouts on every single page with minimal effort, right? Some effort, but minimal if you think about what you'd have to do otherwise. So this is where I sound like an old lady and I say, you guys don't know how good you have it. You guys don't know how good you have it. In the last 6 months, Adobe has made the master pages so much more user-friendly. It does so much more that we're going to figure out what it's doing. So I said I was going to pretend that we'd never done master pages. Will you give me a little thumbs up if you've done master pages before? Okay, so about half of you, that's good. I really thought it was going to be less. For those of you who haven't done master pages, ignore me. But in the past, do you guys remember how The downfall of master pages was that if you changed something significantly that you had unlocked on other sheets, it wouldn't update. Does that sound familiar? Okay. Master pages now connects back. So even if you've unlocked it and moved it, gives me goosebumps. It actually moves it. It saves so much work. So again, you guys just don't know how lucky you have it. What we're going to do today, now that you I hope you guys understand the concept, but I think to really understand it, we have to work with it. We're going to make a master spread layout, a really simple one, similar to what you guys did on your portfolios. So we have this square layout. This is going to be our master. We just want a spot for our work to go. We want a title, we want a page number, and then maybe a graphic. Opa. So, we'll do image, and in fact, we'll probably do a couple little boxes here. A lot of you guys did your titles symmetrical. I'm just going to write title here. We'll do a title. And then we'll do just a page number. The reason why I'm not doing descriptive text, well, maybe we will. I'll decide. Text is text, so whether it's a title or whether it's descriptive text, you'll see how it behaves, okay? So let's go to our master and see how this is called a master. This is where I want you to work. How do you know where you're working? It's just as subtle as Photoshop. Yep, it's a blue, so you can see kind of what's highlighted. There's a lot of times where you could be down here and just clicked on a master, so it's blue, but you need to make sure you double click on it so that the name is highlighted. It's easy to get lost here because it is so subtle. So make sure that not only the page is highlighted in blue, but the name is as well. Let me show you that one more time. Take a look at my screen. Okay. Actually, I'm going to make it a little bit trickier. Where am I working now? Master pages or pages? Okay. This is going to, master pages or pages? Dang it. Okay. Master pages or pages? Okay. So you guys get the concept. Don't be this person. Don't work here. Okay. What I mean by don't work here, after you've done your masters, apply it to your pages and start working in your pages. So your masters shouldn't have any of your work. It should just be placeholders like what you posted online today. But I don't want to see any CAD projects in your whole portfolio should not be in your masters. Did I make that point clear? Okay. So let's hop back into our master now that we know where we are. And let's put a frame in the center of each page, and let's make them like a 5x5 frame. So you can decide if you want to do the click and drag or the click and resize. That part's up to you. And if we know that they're going to be a 5x5, what is my shortcut to just copy this over to the other side? What key do I hold down? Close. It's not Control-C. Same as Photoshop. Alt. Yep. You can't see it on my screen, but as soon as I hit Alt, you get a double-headed arrow. As long as you're in V, you just drag it over. This is being efficient, not lazy. Maybe. I like it. I'll take that. Okay, looks like most of you guys have that. And then let's go ahead and do a text box. I'm going to start in my upper left corner, and I'm just going to write title. And please format this. So again, don't just use the text that's in there. I'm going to go, my default is always the Century Gothic because I know we have these here. And I'll make this 18 point. But really, pick whatever one you want. Quick show of hands so we can make an executive decision. Did you guys title your sheet symmetrically? Like, did it say AutoCAD and AutoCAD, or did you just have it on one side? One side? Okay, so because of that, I'm going to copy this over to the right and write justify it, and I'm going to change this title to the description. Fair? As soon as you guys get project description done, stop working so I'm not listening to your keys. That will let me know that you're done. I'm going to show you guys how to turn on spell check. So you know the little red squiggly that saves us? That's not on by default in InDesign, which is so mean. So right now, I don't know if I've spelled description right. Frankly, I spell everything wrong, so I can never tell. Go ahead and go up to... where are you? Let me figure out where it is. Let's go to, I think it's under view. Wait, don't follow me yet. Hold on, let me remember where it is. Maybe? No? Yeah, there you go. So go to edit, and then all the way down at the bottom, meet me at preferences, and then spelling. I knew I'd get there someday. Okay. And this could be different on a Mac. Mia, is it different? That's why I stumble. I speak 2 languages, and I speak one better than the other. Okay. Did you guys find this menu before I click off? So here, do you see where it says enable dynamic spelling? That's what you want to have on. Okay, so this is different than spell check. A lot of times, I think so many of us are used to having dynamic spelling on that if we don't see that red squiggle, we don't think to run spell check. So I've seen a lot of rough drafts come through with many spelling errors because we don't see the dynamic spelling. So keep that on all of your projects so that if you do spell something wrong, you'll know automatically that it's not correct. Okay, so again, edit, preferences, and then spelling. We've been in here one other time, and that was to change our units. That was at the first day of class, so it's been a minute. Okay, so we've got our 2 frames. We've got 2 text boxes, and then let's play with one other thing. Just put in a random box and let's color it. So make it, I don't care what color it is, but just fill it with color, because what we're going to start doing in a second is testing all of these things to see what our master does versus how it's applied on the pages. Oh, and I forgot one thing. Let's also add our page numbers in the bottom corners. So for these, because I've already formatted the text on my project description, I'm going to use the same Alt technique. And I'm going to go ahead and go to special character, markers, current page number. I'll keep this up for a second. Good? Nope. If you have your page number already, dig through the menus and bottom justify it for me. That's one button I lost in Revit that I miss. My text frame alignment. Savannah, good?
What if it's not?
Oh, is it grayed out?
Yeah.
So you need text there in order to change it to a page number.
Highlight.
I I don't know if you're supposed to highlight it, but just at least have a text box. Mine is highlighted, so yes, I know it'll work. At least be clicked into it. You don't need to have it highlighted, but at least be clicked into the frame. Did that work? No need to apologize. Good. All right. So I'm just going to put the current page number here. Now for my old school InDesign people, please try to find me a shortcut. But we used to have a beautiful menu up here, and don't go to classic mode. We must move with the times. Don't go to classic mode. We used to have this beautiful button up here that would allow us to center in our frame, bottom justify, that's gone. So what I have to do now is click on options. I know, so dramatic. Click on options. So I have the text frame selected, options, and then from here I go to this menu from like 1990. Say put it to the bottom. You could also right click and find text frame options and do that same thing. But if you find those buttons for me again, I will be so happy. Okay. So again, have those bottom justified. I'm going to make this a lot smaller. I don't need it to be that big. I'm going to drag it over. Kate, just a quick check. Everybody have those things on their screen? Don't show them. Good. So, thinking about your portfolio, right click for me, and then text frame options. A little bit higher. Yep. One more. There you go. And then anchor it to the bottom. Oh, wow. Expand it. It looks like it's just cutting off. If not, you can just delete it and see if it goes away. We'll find out what it is. That's so bizarre. Will it let you delete? Oh, that is your page number. Sorry, that A is your page number. Since you're on a master page, it's showing it as A instead of 1 because it hasn't been placed on a page yet. If you turn on W to go into preview mode, it will probably, once you click off of there, yeah, do W, yeah. But going to thinking about your portfolio, so you've already started it, right? You can take existing pages and essentially drag and drop them into your master pages, and it turns them into a master. So I'll show you guys how to do that in a bit. Which one? Oh, that's just saying that's where it's ended. So hit W for me. So if you are worried about all of the extra stuff, remember we are in work mode, not preview mode. So hit W to see what the print preview looks like. I have no idea where it is. Okay, what are you trying to do? Let's go there because there's lots of properties menus.
So I'm trying to do the.
Oh, okay. So click on it for me. And actually hit escape so that we are selecting the text frame and not the text. Yep. And now right click on it or hit Control V, either way. Yep. And then see there, align top, and that's the bottom. There you go. So we're going back to the 90s with some of these, unfortunately. Okay, you're good.
Yeah, mine doesn't pull up on here for some reason. The design isn't working.
Okay, is that you or me? That's me. Okay.
This is even mine and.
You're good there, though? Yeah. Okay. All right, so we have a master page. Now that we have a master page, should we start working in here and pulling in our projects? So this might be really subtle. Maybe you notice it, maybe you don't. Do you see a difference between a master page frame versus what our frames have looked like up until this point? Yeah, I think they're dotted. Yeah, I would say that they're dotted. When we work in a page, they're either solid blue or they're not there. You guys see that difference? So learn those differences because those subtleties will let you know this is a master page. I shouldn't be working here. I should just be designing. Or it'll let you know if you're a page or in a page. That's another thing to watch out for. Okay. Going back to my pages, click on pages 2 and 3. I have pages 2 and 3, so I can click on them. And what did it do automatically? Yeah, so I'm going to use the word apply. It applied the master. Do you guys see that the master has been applied to these already? Now that's a good thing, right? What if we didn't want it to be applied? I'm going to give you guys just a couple seconds to think about it. So like right here on my cover page, I don't want a title and a random page number on my cover. So think about it's here, it's there. Yeah, just grab the none right on top of it. So as with anything in InDesign, there's like 3 different ways of doing it. But can you guys kind of intuitively see there is a none master page and you can drag it and drop it here. And did you see that even the preview has changed, the page has changed, and it doesn't have the A on here anymore? You guys see that? Good. So before we get into how to make other master pages, could you guys conceptually see how you could make like B master and how you could apply it to other pages? Right? It's a drag and drop, right? You could also right click and do apply master to pages. So really similar to how we work with pages in general, but now we're thinking about master pages. Drag and drop, right click, whatever you feel comfortable with. So this is where we really start testing stuff. Now that we're in pages, can you guys add anything in here yet? Like, can you click and add a project? Give it a try. No, right? This isn't a trick. So in here, what we need to do, the master is essentially locked. So they lock the master so that the things that don't need to change don't change, but you can unlock it in order to edit it. So looking at this page, tell me one thing that won't change. Numbers. Yep, the page numbers don't change, right? We don't need to unlock those. Why would we change them? What about this green box? Would that be a lock or an unlock? If this is like a logo, or Mia, you had like the lines running across yours, is this an unlock or a lock? Probably a lock. We probably don't want to change that. Everything else though, the descriptions, the titles, even the frames, those get unlocked. So to unlock them, it worked. It's Control-Shift-Click. It's not that on a Mac, I don't think. I think it's Alt-Click on a Mac or Command-Shift. Which one is it? Alt-Click? Okay, so my Mac people, it's not Control-Shift. I've just learned to do it right in the lab in front of you guys, especially if Brian's here. Command-Shift-Click? Okay, so slightly different. And now let's look at the graphic differences. Can you guys easily see which one is locked and which one is unlocked? Yep. Okay, let's do this. Using any one of the images that I gave you from the presentation techniques. So Vince, just grab something off your laptop. You don't have to download just yet. Go ahead and place an image in there. I don't even necessarily care right now how you format it, because if this is your work going in here, if it's a Revit sheet, your sheet is huge with like title blocks and maybe several drawings. You might be zooming into one thing. Let's just get some content in there.
Could you remind me what the command is for that?
Duh. How could you forget that one? That's such a good one. Will you forget it now?
No. Just pick any.
Yeah. And then actually, while we're here too, go ahead and unlock the title and the project description. So Control-Shift, Control-Shift, and I'm just gonna write blah, blah, blah. blah, 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 Revit. And maybe here, Revit. Just so we're getting some stuff unlocked. Guys got that all right? So this is kind of, the next part is where the real test comes in. And before we start testing it, let's add 2 more pages of just blank templates, because as you work on your portfolio, this is what it might be like. You might have some blank templates that are just waiting to be filled. So we've got pages 2 and 3 where we've started working on it. We've unlocked some stuff. And then we have pages 4 and 5 that are still completely preserved with the master. Everybody with me? This is where the test starts. Montana's not with me. It's good. Not good, but
The page numbers for me are just staying at A.
okay.
I
So
must have missed this.
I think you need to look at one thing. Let me come up to the board.
But I did not.
No?
No, I wasn't here and it's just still.
Where are you?
I just added a new.
So when you added your page numbers here, did you put in the letter A?
No, that's what popped up. Do I need to change that?
No,
Or
you
what?
shouldn't. Let's highlight it real quick and let's see what it's doing. So go ahead and highlight it for me. And then let's, just to make sure, go ahead and go up to type and let's put it back in just to be safe. Current page number, good. And then go ahead and let's go back to that page.
Oh, there it goes. Weird. Thank
I
you.
know, I magic. Okay. All right, so this is where the big test comes. So if you haven't used InDesign in like the past 6 to 9 months, this will be new to you. If you have, maybe you have seen this and you'll be really excited. So let's test this out. Coming back up here to A-Master, what we could look at this is, the first thing is, remember at the beginning of class, Montana and I joined forces and we have a new logo, right? So let's grab this green box, let's pretend it's our logo. And what we're gonna do, move it anywhere, change the size, change the color. Make an edit to it though, that's really obvious. I'm actually gonna have mine span across both pages. So move it, resize it, change the color. And you guys already see it in your preview, right? What's happening to your pages where the master was applied to? Yeah. So we only have 2 pages, but we did the work on 1 page and it did the work on the two pages. So if you have a whole portfolio that's 70 pages, it will do all of that work for us. So I can't tell you how important it is to have these templates in your master pages. As you guys get into industry, in your professional practice classes, have any of you worked with specification books yet? Spec books?
We're starting.
You're starting to? So even think about your spec books. Your client name could change, or the project name could change, you know, logos could be different, color scheme could change. So instead of having to change that on every single page, do it in your master page, you know, that template, and then you'll see it be applied to every single page. So specifications is also that same thing. Typically on your specs, you add the project name to every sheet. This way, if there's a misspelling, you can go ahead and do it in one place in the template and it applies to all of them. So that one was easy, right? Because we hadn't unlocked it on the other 2 pages yet. Let's do something a little bit different though. So coming to our master page, let's say we aren't happy with where the project description is. Grab the project description and bring it right below this image right here. And this is where I start doing my hallelujahs and crossing my fingers and hope that it works. Did it work?
Mm-hmm.
Even on the one that was unlocked?
Yes.
The blah, blah, blah Revit? Okay. How many of you guys are too young to be grateful for this new feature. It was mostly this half of the room. How many of you guys are so excited that this is working? Right? I'm so glad that they do this. So now there's a couple things that don't work though. I will just warn you. So it moved. We're happy with that. Go to your master and try to change the font. I haven't tried this in 2020. So we know that it changes location. Does it change font? And I'm really not trying to be like sneaky. I really don't know. It doesn't? Jerk. Come on, InDesign. Okay, so that didn't change. But we'll take what we can get, right? So you can always do an eyedropper. Didn't work? Dang it, I was hoping that the Mac would be on it. Okay, so in your master page, can you change your text? It's kind of a weird question. What can you change on your text? Yep, you can change the location, but not necessarily the formatting. So, let me see if so when we say formatting, it's usually like the text as well as the placement. Let me try to right justify it and see if that changes at all. Probably not, but okay. Nope, so it's really just the text frame that you're able to change and it will update, but as far as formatting within the text frame, it unlocks from that. Again, you guys don't know how lucky you are, so it may seem inconvenient, but it's better than what it was a year ago. On your own, go ahead and try to edit the image that's on your page. Right now it's centered, and I don't know if you noticed, but I kind of like things justified to the edges of the page. Go into your master, adjust it to the edge of the page, see if it updates. Yes. It's the circle of death. So Control Alt Delete. I'm sorry. I know. It doesn't think that it's stuck. End it. Yeah. Hopefully it'll get a backup file for you. But if not, I mean, it's pretty quick to kind of throw back together. Just try it one more time. Sorry, Valerie. Don't answer yet. I just want to see if it worked. So remember, you are now taking, in your master page, we had the two frames that were centered. I want you to justify them to the edges of your page. All the way to the margin. Yes. Really? Okay. Valerie, spoiler alert, we're going to do it without you. I'm sorry. You'll find out what it does. So I'm going to go up to my master. I'm going to grab this frame. Again, I said justify it to the edges, justify it to the edges. What did you guys find out? Did it move the image? I got mine to move. Mine moved. Did yours not move? So I have an image in mine and it moved. Dun dun dun. Yours didn't move either? Let's check something real quick. Go up to your ID in InDesign. No, wait, not there. How do I do this on a PC? Go up to File. Nope, go to Help. I don't know where this is. About InDesign. That's what I'm looking for. So all the way to the right, go to Help, and then About InDesign. Maddie, are you doing the same?
Yeah,
I'm curious. Okay, so with you, are you on a Mac? Hit your ID, and then go to, it says like InDesign, and it'll give you all the information there. Tell me what version you're on. I'm on like 1430 something something.
I'm on 15.1. I had it's 2020 that has the update. Like because I had a demo 2020 on this computer.
I still want to see which, because even 2020 will have weird updates sporadically, so I'm curious to see. So you're at the same one that I'm on. I'm going to ask you guys to try it again. only because this is our first time working on master pages, and we can't do like screen recordings to watch every step. So I don't know exactly what happened, but the way to check is to, let me get out of here. So go ahead and you have your master, right? Go ahead and create 2 new pages. Sorry, not up in your master. Create 2 new pages. I'm doing this again. Okay, come down to your pages. So if it didn't work, sorry, I'm talking to Savannah and Maddie. There could be other people. Go ahead and unlock, add another image, and then go back up to the master and then do that one more time.
I did when I added 2 new pages.
Really? Okay. But the old one is completely unlocked now? Or did the old one, is the old one in the wrong position, is how I'll put it?
That's the old one, so
Okay.
it moved one but not the other.
That's so
But then my new pages
It did update.
have both of them.
Try that whole thing again though, where you pull something in and then go move it one more time and see if it's disconnected or connected. I'm really curious to see. Savannah, will you do the same?
Yeah, and mine is the same as hers. Like
The
one-
new
only one that
pages are
didn't
updated?
move Is the one image that I added because I unlocked it to put the image in.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking happened, but I don't know.
But either way, from I think what you've seen on my screen and the people around you, it should be moving. So we'll figure out why it might not be. But everybody else did get theirs to move to the edges. Okay. So with the templates, despite a couple of exceptions here today, I hope you guys see the benefit in using them. So before we get too far into your portfolios, we've done the rough draft. Your second rough draft that you turn in, I do want you guys to create them using master pages so that you'll have those templates just already in there. You can apply them to your pages and then start putting work in. So that'll be kind of a new layer that we're adding. But as you go through and kind of finesse everything, really take time to get everything updated, because as you've seen today, although InDesign has made a lot of improvement to connect unlocked work with the master, it still isn't perfect. So it's really good to have it about 95% dialed in before you start adding all of your work. So in the next 2 to 3 weeks, hopefully before spring break, we will have this down really well, and then it'll just be a matter of taking a look at your project matrix. Was that intimidating putting that together? No?
I just hope I can find everything.
You will. You might not be able to find everything, but you'll find enough. How many people here think that there's work that's like gone, like lost? Oh, that's right. We talked. Okay.
Just a few pieces, the file
Okay.
the board, so I can put it back. I still have
Okay.
it.
Good.
Just to get off.
Was our hand up over here? Stuff that's gone?
Yeah, but I think I can live without it.
Okay.
I do have old pictures, I think, just from my phone, so I can check and
Okay.
see if they're good enough.
All right. And you
Flash drive, so that's my fault.
flash drive. Oh no. Oh. Stephanie, you lost your flash drive? I remember this. It was in the middle of a semester. That was terrible. Okay. Well, one thing that maybe you guys have noticed when we were going over portfolios, I should have pointed this out. I don't think I did. When you guys looked at like color boards that people had done, did they still look like color boards? Or did they look like they re-photoshopped everything? Did it not stand out? Some people really just go back and essentially redo the assignment with the new tools that they have, because they're like, I did this class, I have a final, I know new skills, I have different design aesthetics, so they will essentially recreate the assignment using new tools. So I'm not asking you guys to recreate 10 projects, it's not what I'm asking, but if there's 2 or 3 that you have lost that you would actually like to recreate to show what you learned in that class, please do. I mean, photoshopping really should be fun, especially this part of it. It's not technical drawings, it's really putting together the boards. It does. So I can see it, but you guys can't. At the end of the semester, it closes you out. But you might want to reach out to instructors. I know with like CAD and Revit, those I think would be easier to find, but something like a board or images, that gets a little bit trickier. So, but look at that project matrix, you know, in those notes, it could be hunt so-and-so down or recreate. So we're looking for 10, whatever that might be. It doesn't have to all be schoolwork. Maddie?
For kitchen and bath, like my client was the Brady's.
Yeah.
If I don't like what the Brady's like, can I redo that and do like a
Sure.
better kitchen?
I think so because one project, I mean, you've already done it with like their constraints on it, but I think when you show your portfolio, you're really just showing the skills that you learned in the program. Whether or not that's, you know, the constraints that you had for the final, you're still showing what you learned in that class. But remember, part of the matrix is also to help you guys organize your time. I want you guys to look at that list and think, these are all of the things I need to clean up. I wish I still had that sketch. Remember, your portfolio is 2 pieces, right? So as wonderful as your master pages are, as graphic and professional as they could look, is that what's really important? It's your projects that I really want to stand out. So if you find that you don't have the time to do it, don't. But if you think that spending the time here would actually help kind of elevate that work, because after school, how many of you guys are really going to come back and work on this stuff? So,
Well, it's just like if I put it in my portfolio, it is not the same style.
yeah. So I'm actually okay with that because you guys are in school.
Okay.
I think that it's a very privileged few who have a really well-defined style. And that's hard to say in Utah because not everybody. Sorry, Brian. Another blanket statement, but if you guys go and look at like any blogger's Instagram, it's all like farmhousey, right? There's a precedent out right now, but if you were to get more into the commercial sector, I mean, let's look at restaurants. Let's say you're in restaurant design. Compare like Zhao Asian Cafe to like a brewery pub. Those aren't going to look the same, right? The only way that they'd look the same is if you were the designer who just worked on every Zhao Cafe in the state of Utah. So our master pages are the thing that will tie everything together. So that part's okay. I am going back to the first day. Do you guys remember why we set up this class? What was it that was happening with the portfolios? Do you guys remember? So 10 projects. I'm looking through them.
None of them were consistent. There was not a consistent look.
Yeah, so it was it looked like 10 different people could have turned those projects in. So the point of this class and these exercises is to take a really varied body of work and skill and also aesthetic and tie them together somehow. So the part that you're working on is the tying together somehow. So it's really okay if they are really different, as long as you're happy with the aesthetic.
I mean, it looks fine. It's just not like the same style. So that's what I was.
Yeah.
If it's not the same style, then it doesn't.
It's really okay. And every class is so different,
Yeah.
so it'll be okay.
I kind of think it's good to show you can step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Your client might not want what I want. So.
Absolutely. That's a good point. Yeah.
I do have a question about AutoCAD. How to
Okay.
get stuff out of AutoCAD.
How to export it into here?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so AutoCAD are the PDFs. So AutoCAD and Revit are going to be the same. So the thing that's easier about AutoCAD is that, this is going back, when you're in AutoCAD, you actually print to a PDF. So it's actually much easier to get work out of CAD. Anything beyond that, you're going to have to schedule some time with me. But so Raquel, here's an easy, I hope, question for you. Do you have PDF files of your AutoCAD final? Maybe.
Probably.
Okay. So for your portfolio, you're not importing your CAD files in. You're importing the PDFs that you created of your CAD project.
Oh, you are?
Does that help? Yeah, that's what you'd be importing in.
This isn't part of it.
That's what?
This isn't part of it. I don't know what.
That looks like CAD. Yeah, it's produced by an Autodesk product. Yeah. That's your AutoCAD final. Yeah, look at the top. It says produced by an Autodesk. Top and sides. It's almost spring break. Hang in there.
Okay, so then we're just putting in our
PDFs. And so let's go back and talk. So your CAD file, if I remember correctly, your CAD final, you probably submitted like 10 different PDFs. You didn't combine them. Is that right? Okay. In Revit, is it one PDF with several pages, or is it all separate pages? This is a quiz. Separate pages or one PDF with lots of pages? Okay, one PDF with lots of pages. If you go back to the class 2 lecture, remember when we were importing files? See if you can remember this. What do you click on your screen? So by default, if you're pulling in a PDF, it only wants to pull in the first page. So unless you just want the first page of your Revit project over and over again, what do I need to click here? I know it's spring break. Last push. Not quite. There's something that you check. There's a little checkbox. Show import options. Yep. So we clicked show import options in 2 different scenarios. One of them was a PDF. Let me see. I think I have a PDF here somewhere. Okay. So if I go to, I'm trying to find something that's multiple pages. Midterm floral shop. Okay. If I click on show, actually, let me not click on show import options. So it'll be the first page over and over again. Okay, that's their first page. But if I click on show import options, it was somebody's midterm. I'm not sure who now. But when I come here, it's going to ask me what page I want. Does that look familiar? So for our exercise, we did a CAD or Revit project. I think it was interior elevations. So that's where you can go and select the page, because not everybody puts in every page of their AutoCAD or Revit project. You might pick 4 pages and just highlight different things that you've done.
So if our Revit's like 24 by 18, does that matter if this is 8.5 by 11?
No, because these won't be to scale anymore. So these will just be samples of your project. So nothing in here will be to scale. If it is, good on you. The other place that we used show import options, do you guys remember what that was? So PDFs was one. You guys remember the second one? If I give you a hint, it'll give it away. So here's a hint. There were layers involved, but it wasn't AutoCAD. Bless you. Photoshop. Yep. So again, in Photoshop, you may have created something and put all of the room labels in there, but now that you're working in InDesign and you're scaling it differently, either you don't like the font or they're too big, you can also click on show import options and turn off different, let's go, Billboard 3. So this is one of my students' assignments. Let's hope it's a decent one. So here, do you see that here are all of their layers they created? So if I don't want to see Go Utes, if you're like a big BYU fan, do you see in my preview Go Utes is disappearing? So don't go into Photoshop and create a new file. Use your import options. And I think the lecture, class 2 or 3, where we go through these, I think now that we're actually pulling in your own examples and not just the examples I gave you, the connection is like, that's what she meant by that. Okay, so now even Utah's gone. It's just a red billboard. We don't want to see anything to do with the Utes. But over here on this side, I accidentally put that on the master. So I don't want to see your work on the master. Over here on this side, I can do that same thing, but maybe turn off the red. And this will make no sense at all, but I just want to show you that you can, you can toggle the 2 of them. All right. So this might be, now that we've had this conversation, go back to your project matrix and look at those notes. So Raquel, note, find PDFs. If you don't have PDFs, create PDFs. And then after spring break, we're gonna do 2, 3-ish kind of Photoshop in a nutshell. So we're gonna take all of that Photoshop knowledge that I know is somewhere in your brain, and just do 1 or 2 classes to quickly go through and clean stuff up, mainly in levels, a little bit of masking, and then using the camera to take pictures of whatever you need. Okay? Let me undo that. Okay, I'm gonna leave you guys with one other thing, and that is how to go backwards. So today we started off by working in the master, right? And what I'm asking you guys for next week is to take your existing portfolio spreads and make them a master. Does that make sense? I think it's really straightforward, but it might not be. Let me show you an example. So down here in my pages, do you guys see that I'm in pages? Okay, I'm going to make, I keep thinking I'm here, but I'm not. Yep, now I am. So I'm gonna put none here and none there. See how I've got these 2 blank spreads? Okay, look away for a moment. Okay, I've worked really hard all night and I've made this layout. Okay, do you guys see the difference between the 2? How can you guys tell that one of them is a master layout and one is one that I created? Yep, dashed lines versus the actual frames. So right now, is it safe to assume that everybody's future master pages are in this state? Yes? Okay. So to change these into a master page, I'm going to select both pages, and you can just click on the 2 numbers down here and see how they both highlight. I'm old school. I used to have to hold shift. I still do that. You don't need to do that. Just grab both, drag, and drop, and it makes a master. I really do think, would you guys agree that this is all pretty simple and intuitive? Is it also easy to mess up and get off course? Right? It is, just because now there's this menu that we've kind of ignored for a while that we have to start thinking about again. Do you guys know how to redeem yourself if you start going the wrong way? Maybe? Raquel? Just have to see if you get there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
I think you could. I think you could. Do you want me to do that again slower?
No, I
Okay. Really, at the end of the day, what I'm really asking you, don't work here. So don't work in your masters. If you start working in your masters, just cut it out of there, copy it down, erase it from there, whatever you need to do, but just don't work in there. Your masters should really be blank. The only thing that should be on it is all of this stuff. But your actual work and putting in the descriptions, putting in the titles, don't put any of that in there. Don't even put a generic title. Like, don't even put AutoCAD as your generic title, because Brooklyn, next week when you're working at 1 in the morning to try and get this done, all of your projects will say AutoCAD. So, but if you leave it project title, that's a little bit better than just AutoCAD, AutoCAD, AutoCAD. Fair? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pause this. If there's questions that come up, I will keep recording. But the rest of the time is for you guys. I'm gonna open up the discussion again. Please make comments, right? Not just I like it. Go through, leave comments for people, and come up with a plan for what you'll be turning in next week for your updated version. Okay?
Are we turning this in for this assignment?
No, that was just a quick exercise. Yep. You can, so for the master page, I would rather, so remember we shook stuff up. In the past, no wait, let's actually keep working on it. So for this example that we've done today, the very beginning of class, we downloaded the presentation, right? The presentation folder. I want you guys to create 2 masters, right? So we have 1 already. I want you to create 2, and it could be really subtle differences. It could just be different frame sizes. You could change up the logo on one, I don't know, but make them look like they're still part of the same family, but slightly different. And I'd like you guys to turn in, I don't want you to use every image that we have for that project, but let's say that get at least 4 spreads for me. So do you guys see on my screen I have 4 spreads, right? Use your master pages to complete 4 of those spreads, just so you can kind of see how it works, and then change and edit as necessary.
And then that's what we're turning in for this master page.
Yes, that'll be your master page. So I'm gonna make you work on it a little bit more before I cut you loose on your own. Recording again. So I'm going to unlock this real quick. That's actually a good one. I'll just start there. Am I still projecting? Okay, good. So everybody, I know I said to work. Stop working. Take a peek real quick. There's a couple things that have happened in Adobe that are slightly confusing, and I'm still getting used to them, and Raquel, I can see you are trying to get used to them too. So here's an example of a PDF that I pulled in, and we all know that I need to change the fitting of this, right? Because we're just getting a small corner of it. So if I go to fitting, I'm going to go ahead and do fit content proportionately. And then everything fits. So far so good, right? But another thing that might come up is, yes, it fits, but what if on this page you only want to show the main floor? Raquel, that's kind of what was going on with you, right? You wanted to zoom into a couple particular interior elevations. So here's the part that gets confusing. Right now, Photoshop has been updated that when you drag something, it's always proportional. Is this proportional right now? Do you see how it's getting like skewed? So when you guys, depending on when you guys started the program, we taught you guys in Photoshop that for things to be proportional, you have to hold shift and drag out. But now that's been thrown out the window in Photoshop. In InDesign, you still have to hold shift and drag out for it to be proportional. So even here, if I grab that corner, unless I'm holding shift down, we don't want to change the proportions of this. See how I'm now 22 and 26? Okay. Going back to like our first days of class, the only time that's allowed is if you're trying to make me look more narrow, but for our projects, they should always, always, always be in proportion. So hold the shift key, and Raquel, why don't you try this? So select the object within the container, and then after that, hold the shift key to resize it. And truthfully, you could always come up here and toggle, but I think it's easier to interact with it right here on your screen. And then, yeah, just don't forget to hold the shift key so you don't break proportion. My brain almost always does it wrong once. So if I'm in Photoshop, I will hold shift and then I'll have to undo it and then not hold shift, but then when I'm in InDesign, I won't hold shift and I'll have to undo it and then hold shift.
Do you know, oh sorry. Do you know how to make it so that that's the automatic?
I don't, do you?
Because for a long time my InDesign automatically kept it proportional. When I press shift it would change.
Yeah.
And I liked that, but I lost
I haven't gone to the new user preferences, and even at home. So at home, when I first installed it, asked a question like, do you want all of your shortcuts to be universal across like Photoshop, InDesign, and everything else I had installed? And I said yes. But it's different. So just a couple things that are, I mean, for the most part, they've all been really good changes, but that's just one.
Okay. And so the size of the brown box, which is the image box,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter here because we're not doing things to scale. Even though it is CAD and Revit, these aren't serving as construction documents. They're serving as pieces in your portfolio. The one thing that does still matter is, let me at least point this out. Don't go over 100% here. So that still matters. If you go over 100, you're going to start to get pixelated. And I know some people, it really freaks them out to see pixelated images. Go ahead and change your display performance if you want, so you can start seeing how this really looks. But as you start really putting all of your work in your portfolio, when you get your PDFs and your Photoshop, especially if you're on a laptop, you will start to feel the lag from your graphic display. So I kind of just like to toggle. Okay. Right. I'm going to keep the lecture up, but go ahead and if anything comes up, I'll just keep adding to it if you guys have questions. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go over the concept of packaging again, when you'd use it, why you would use it. Good, it looks like I'm still projecting. So here's an example of me working on a project here in the lab, but I need to continue working on this at home. And because I'm not on a laptop, I need to get all of this work to me. And packaging is the best way to do it, because when you package something, it's not just saving your InDesign file, but it's going to gather up all of your fonts and all of your images that are in the file and put them all into one folder so that you can easily send it to yourself. Easily send it to yourself is a whole other conversation. For now, let's just focus on the package portion of it. So I know that if I go to package it, it is going to say you need to save this first. In the past, it wouldn't even get that far. But here, can you guys see that it's Untitled 1? I haven't even saved it yet. Before it gets too far, it's going to say publication must be saved before continuing. Save it now. And I love this feature. Again, you guys don't know how lucky you are. Before, it would just totally kick you out. So I'm going to go back to my 2700 folder. And then here, I'm going to make a new folder. And I'm going to call it Portfolio Rough Draft. And you could even just call it Portfolio at this point. It's up to you. This is the folder that it's going in. And under the file, I'm just going to write Portfolio 2020. And then when I hit save, it is asking me the folder name. So it's the Portfolio 2020 folder. Copy the fonts is selected, copy linked graphics is selected, and that's what I want because again, I want all of my work that I've done here on the lab to follow me home. And basically I'm doing everything out of the box. There's even a PDF that it's going to create. So include PDF. I'm going to hit package. It always gives you a warning that yes, we will copy the font into the folder for you, but if there's copyright restrictions, don't share that font with somebody. That's essentially what it's saying. Okay. So this goes through all of the steps of packaging. And then if I come back over here, let me go to my desktop, and now I'm going to show you what that package folder looks like. So do you guys see my Portfolio Rough Draft? I put it in here. I obviously did something wrong. I don't know what I did wrong. Oh, I'm so sorry. I made the Portfolio Rough Draft folder, but then I didn't select it. I put it in my test folder. Don't let this happen to you. I am human. I also make mistakes. Do you guys see what I did there? So I created a folder, but then I ended up not even using it. But this is the package, and I'm going to go through the contents with you now. So in here, I've got my InDesign document. I hate how similar these are, because unless you read it or unless you hover, these look like the same thing, but they're not. Can you see that one of them is a lot bigger than the other? Always go for the big one. That's where your work is, okay? We've also got your portfolio PDF, so that, for example, let's say this was a group project. So if I sent this to Raquel, Raquel could go through the PDF and say, okay, this is what it's supposed to look like on my computer. So that when you come and open up the InDesign document, you can say, okay, this is what it looks like. And because you've packaged it, it's looking for all of the images in the folder that you just packaged. It's not looking for it on your desktop and your downloads. It's looking for it right there. Okay? So, is that a good review for everybody, just how to get it packaged and why? Now, the second part, how you get this to yourself, that's the whole other story. If you have a Google Drive or like a OneDrive, or if you're actually using cloud, I'm really disappointed. I know we're getting Adobe for free, but when I go to my Creative Cloud documents, I actually can't have them on my desktop. Do you see that I have to go to a web page to access them now? I'm not really impressed with that. So you can still utilize this. So what I can do here, these are my cloud documents. This isn't everything. Oh, synced files. I'm even getting used to this because it's so different. So now you guys can see all of my crap that I do and my kids do. Hey, do you guys want to see punk rock, Naima? This is me when I was like 6 years old. We did my hair before I put on my costume. So I was like, I'm not getting out of this outfit. I don't know if this is gonna work. I might be able to drag and drop in here. No, lame. It's free. It's fine. I think I have to go to create new folder, drag and drop everything in there. This is really new for me. This is not how I work at home. So the free version is different here on campus. But let's say you do have like a Google Drive. So in here, I can drag and drop. So I can copy this in here, uploading one item, and I probably shouldn't have dragged and dropped because see all of these folders? One of these folders should probably be like a 2700 folder. But it's going in there and I have like no space, but we're gonna put it in here anyway. So let's see, skip through all the embarrassing stuff. Now everything is here. Okay. If you are planning on emailing it to yourself or emailing it to anybody to share, you always have to zip it first. So here in school, sorry, this is always really different than on a Mac, but I think we have to, is 7-zip, any PC users know if 7-zip is like the standard thing that you use to compress files? No? Well, here in lab, I guess it's 7-zip. There's usually something that's called like compress. But we're gonna add it to the archive. I'm just gonna hit OK. It's squishing everything. And now, you see how I have another folder that's zipped? That's the portfolio zipped folder. Let me look at this in another view. Yep, so that's the 7-zip folder. And that you can email somebody. You can't email somebody a folder, but you can email them a zip folder. You can email yourself one. You can also take the whole folder and drag and drop it onto a flash drive, or you could just package it onto the flash drive to begin with and not have to worry about moving it. Okay? So that way, if you do any work today that you want to get home, somehow you can do it that way. So for your assignment, before you go, just send me a PDF of all the spreads that you created and then zip everything. So package it, zip it, and then upload that too. Just to make sure you know how to do it. To be honest, I'm not going to like go through everything, but this is just my way of ensuring you've tried it. If you have any questions, you'll ask me in class. All right? And the rest of the time is for you guys to work. I'll be posting a new assignment for you guys, and that will be really similar to this master page exercise, except that it will be you guys actually turning in your portfolio layouts. So send me just a PDF of your spreads so that I can see if you want to start working on the cover, work on the cover, that can still be blank. But let me see at least your spread. Even if you just make one master page, let me see what it looks like across at least, let's say, 6 pages. So I can just see the same thing 3 times. Or if you have 2, I'll see at least once each. Okay? Any questions about what I'm looking for next week? Okay. Next week, because a lot of you guys get your stuff in like right before class, we'll probably spend class time working and me going around and commenting on so we'll do like individual desk crits next week. No discussion, desk crits, okay?